Hello, everybody. Okay, so um, tonight's a weird night for me because I am very excited to talk to my brother and someone that I went to high school with, and it's really weird when the people you grew up with are like people now. So I've got three brothers. Two of them are lawyers, and one of them is a therapist. And I talk about shoes on the internet. It's very strange. And so when we meet up for family stuff, they'll be like, "Yeah, I helped a client who was homeless get back into it." And I'll just be like, "Have you seen Balenciaga's new couture line?" I have not. It, so let me introduce you first to my brother. So this is Jack Farrell, an Esquire, apparently douchebag. This is my brother Jack, and he is I wrote it down, co-founder and head of community outreach for this organization. So can you just give us a little something, buddy?
How now, cows of various colors and stripes.
You can clap now.
Thank you all for joining us.
And let me introduce you to Peter White, who I should have introduced first because he's the founder and CEO. Hello, Peter.
Hey,
And I last saw you
like,
15 years ago.
yeah, like 20 years ago. Yeah.
And oh, hi, Brig. You can fuck off, baby. Because see, here's the wonderful thing about having my own channel. I can I can do this. Bye. Anyway,
Did I just see someone say Alex Jones is a national treasure, or am I like hallucinating?
so I don't talk about politics on my channel. I don't
Got
choose
it.
to. I want my channel to be somewhere that everybody can come and just have a quick laugh. But today I posted something about Alex Jones because for me, like, I think we can all laugh at a $48,000 skirt. That's just so ridiculous. I think we can all laugh at I think we can all laugh at Alex Jones. Like, I'm comfortable saying that.
I think it's pretty amazing that like the arc of like there was a period of time where like Alex Jones was like the same as the Onion, but just on like at the different end of the spectrum. And now
So
we've just come full circle.
the thing is, it's just like, like I don't want to make super political statements, but for me, it's like saying, you know, Nazis aren't great. It's like, no, I'm fine saying that. Like, I think, and if you disagree with me, this is not a place for you. So, like, we're
He
cool.
lied to profit off of the deaths of children. He's a bad guy.
It's hard to get away from that person. Like, yeah, and there's a lot of people saying like, they've illegally seized his company. And it's like, no, there was a trial. It
Very
was like a whole,
legally.
it
His
was like a legal
lawyer
process that we went through.
His
Yeah.
lawyer, Jack, I'd love to hear your thoughts about this. What would happen to you as a defense attorney if, like, you emailed the contents of your client's entire phone to opposing counsel? Like, what would happen to you? Because I don't think that's what happened to his lawyer.
I don't know the particulars of that situation that specifically, but it sure sounds like malpractice.
But
He
let
was,
me,
oh, go
because
for
I
it.
I don't I don't want to like completely divulge
Yeah,
into
yeah,
it.
yeah,
It was
yeah,
just
yeah.
it was a
Thank
moment of
you.
Schadenfreude. But let me start by asking you guys, what political group is your organization affiliated with?
So
So
we're,
this,
go for it, Jack.
yeah. So this is not associated with a political group or any political movement, except in that it promotes anti-corruption efforts and essentially community-built solutions. The entire problem with the way American politics is breaking down right now is if something is a good idea, it can't move forward without somehow being splintered between political factions.
Mm.
Um, it makes things inefficient. It makes it difficult to get things done. And it makes it difficult to even talk about policy because as soon as you try to bring something up, you're getting into all these other issues that will slow you down and make you unable to accomplish anything. And we've especially seen that those who are most in control, at least of messaging and policy right now, in terms of the political parties, are more interested in this game they're playing at power playing between one another in Washington than passing reasonable legislation that will impact Americans positively.
So, Peter, let me ask you, can
Mhm.
you just tell us what is our public assembly? What is your mission statement? What is your goal? Because
Mhm.
I wanted to get that out of the way immediately. It's like this is not about promoting a Democratic candidate or a libertarian candidate. Like,
No,
this is about individual people's voices truly being heard. So can
absolutely.
you tell us
Absolutely.
a little bit more about that?
First of all, both of you, thank you for very beautiful summaries of what public assembly is. It's exactly what both of you just said. Public assembly is about people. Public assembly isn't about a party. It's very much that's the whole point of public assembly, is that the parties are this like horribly broken, inefficient marketplace
Mhm,
where supply is never meeting demand, right?
mhm,
There are so many people, I've been interviewing people about this for so many years, and the really common theme, especially in like the last week or so, is people are tired for waiting for the public, for political
mhm.
parties to get it right, to
Yes.
actually like deliver on what people are looking for, instead of this like mishmash of political game theory combining what with like what donors want. I mean, at the end of the
Mhm.
day, we've proven, so like quantitatively, we've proven that political parties are there for donors and basically justifying their own existence. And if you want to go along for the party, great. I mean, it's why the biggest voting group in this election was, again, uh, people who didn't vote. So, really, at the end of the day, what we're trying to do is, instead of everything in politics and electoral politics being this like incredibly broken, um, manufactured consent process that is like very top down, we want to allow people to combine their action, attention, and money, form their own political cooperatives, basically pool clout amongst each other, and basically flip the system on its head. We want voters to come together, pool donations, form an actual organization, and force politicians to really take them seriously. Because right now, politicians don't.
Um,
They've
I
gamed the
have
system well enough.
a really important question. We need to address the dog that's walking around behind you, Jack.
She is a 16 roughly month old Bernedoodle that is Bernie's mountain dog poodle. And I believe that she probably has no bones because of the way that she flops herself around the
I
house.
straight up thought she was a cat, like
I
out of the
also
corner of my
thought she was a
eye.
cat.
That
I
was
also thought it
actually,
was a cat.
and she's
Go ahead.
Bernice. That's I'm seriously blown. My mind's blown.
I'll be honest, like, whenever there's an animal behind someone, I completely stop listening to whatever that person is saying until the animal has been addressed. Like, until that
Me
animal has
too.
been pet, I don't care. Like,
Especially if that animal's a tiger, right? I wouldn't pay paying attention.
that would I'll give you that one.
It's a really solid
So
point, Jack.
can you give us an example? Because you guys are obviously very involved in a political scene that a
Yeah.
lot of people just are not. Can you give us an example that like an everyday person you think can understand? Because the one that I saw on your website previously was gun control. I don't know if that's something you want to address because that can be a divisive issue, but
So I should first be a little more specific about exactly how this works.
yes, please do. Yeah.
The thing is, most Americans actually agree, or at least can come to a reasonable compromise on most issues,
Yeah.
but they don't have a lot of control over how things get done. And a lot of the mechanisms of how things get done are how money is spent. So you pay taxes, and you don't really have much of a say in what the government does with those taxes.
Yep.
Public assembly is a tool for you to find people who have specific views or specific solutions they want to specific problems. This is not a, I want the national scale of politics to turn in this direction. It's, I want to fix this thing in my town, fund this project. And this is a tool to help those people find one another, pool funds from small funds from many sources. And that may sound a little absurd, but a substantial amount of campaign funding is exactly that. Small donors giving a little bit, but there are hundreds of millions of people in America.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
you can come together, use this platform to find people to pool money, and also in a very, very transparent way, see exactly how that money is being spent.
And we will address the painting behind Jack because you chose the most distracting thing you could behind you, you son of a
You
bitch.
don't want any of
Um,
my legal degrees, none of my diplomae.
A man with an eye patch on the floor behind you. That is somewhat distracting. I can't even see all of it. I assume he's wearing some sort of uniform.
oh no, we'll come back to that, but I do want to
Okay.
ask briefly.
Does he have a name? What is his name? I have to know that right
Oh,
now.
you know what? No, let's wait. Do you not know the story of this piece, Peter?
I've seen that in his apartment, but like 7 years ago.
More specifically, it came from our mutual high school. This was painted to hang on the wall during Henrik Ibsen's The Enemy of the People, in which I was a captain, a sea captain who had
Yes,
probably 3 scenes.
Yeah.
I remember that.
So Jack and I both have a pretty storied history with just theft, with just stealing things.
I would object to the use of the term theft.
Would you?
If it's going to be thrown away or ignored in such a fashion as no one will notice, or I mean, wait a minute. This is on the back of an old piece of wallpaper for a single play I did in high school in the 9th grade. If they would like me to pay them fair value for it, I will.
But just so our father,
Who
our
are
father,
Martin Lansdale.
who Arden Lansdale, he turned to Jack and said, "That will be coming home with us." When he
I
went to
love
see the
that.
play at our school. It was not a question. It was a statement. And he did the same thing to me once. He came to visit me at college, at the college I attended at the four-year university, and he looked at some stuff like promotional shit that the college had put up and just said, "I am ashamed that you haven't taken one of those." And right then and there, he pulled a knife out of his back pocket, flicked it open and handed it to me, and watched me cut down this bullshit banner and roll it up and take it back to my room. I don't know what would have happened if like someone saw that, but that's our father. Like there are some things that just need stealing.
Story may be true.
That is
That's
1,000
amazing.
fucking percent true.
That's I
Um,
I legitimately I just don't know how to respond to that. That's amazing.
no, most people don't. I'm going to tell you this other story, and he's going to fucking deny it, but it's the truth. And then we'll get back to your thing. That's very important. But my father once, we were stealing something. We were liberating something. We were working in asset relocation, and all of a sudden, I was like 14 by at the time, by the way. I see the blue and red lights, and I hear the car pulling away, and the trunk is open, and I just hear my father screaming, "Baby, daddy will leave you," as I sprint across this field to jump in the back of our car so that we can get away from police.
To this
You
day, you
know,
remain a very good sprinter.
I
when I think of like all the people that we went to high school with, that's more like me and Chaz and Ben, that kind of shit. I would never have expected that from you two. Honestly, I'm actually shocked.
I'm disappointed in myself, and I'm disappointed in you, Jack, if this is
If you
okay.
that's not your rep, fuck yeah.
Okay, but again, back to the very important thing. I would like you guys to just very briefly, because it's a huge topic, obviously. Can you address the importance of working in local politics? Because obviously we just finished a national election to elect a president, which is huge. And a lot of people, I think, feel like their votes don't count because in a lot of ways with the electoral college, they don't. But like, can you talk a little bit about the impact that you can have in your own community and why it's important to get involved in community politics, in
I
local
actually
community politics?
I'll take a crack at that first because Jack, I'd
Okay.
like you to validate what I'm about to say. For every
Sorry,
$1
what
we
a great introduction. I'm going to say that to people from now on. I would like you to validate what I'm about to say and then just say whatever fucking bullshit I want to. Carry on.
yeah,
That's wonderful. I'm stealing it. I needed to inform you of that. I'm so
hell
sorry.
yeah.
Carry on.
No, please. I don't have that copyrighted. Yeah, no, just rephrase. Jack, just like make sure I'm like not fucking this
No,
up,
what you
but
said is perfect. Screw him. He'll say what you want him to. Go ahead.
hell yeah. Um I think the first conversation that I had with Jack about joining this team was like, please don't be a yes man. So like I'm going against my word here, so I feel bad about that now. But yeah, so
No,
for
you're
every
not.
$1 we spend on defense, we spend we spend 7 on corrections and criminal justice, and that's state, local, and federal, but it's also majority local. So as much as we have a massive military industrial complex, we have a significantly larger criminal justice system.
I did not know
And
that. Is that real? Is that a real fact? I'm dumb. You could have made it up. I didn't know that. Okay, carry
I
on.
said it very
The United
confidently.
States of
You did.
America has both the largest raw number and the largest proportion of its population in prison.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah,
Woo.
and the thing is about that number is like, though the majority of that funding is state and local. That's not
Right.
federal.
Okay. Okay.
So it's
Okay.
just, we are so in like, and obviously the federal government is insanely powerful, but there people discount and don't pay attention to, the fact that your local city council could be not doing adequate reporting on zoning. They could be having public hearings that are not being, followed through on, regardless of what like the requirements are for hearings like that. That happens a lot in Philadelphia. There are several very awesome journalists and activists whose whole job is just to make sure that like city council isn't having a meeting at like 11 o'clock at night. You know what I mean? Um, and thank you, Ken K. All politics definitely is local.
Mhm.
It's, there's just so much that happens locally, and one of the big tricks I think of political media is to make you think that like everything is federal, because if you think that everything is federal, you as an individual don't feel like a direct connection, and therefore some like you can actually do something about it.
Mm.
So one of the things that like one of the, sort of the ways that we want to get people to get engaged is to feel like, you know, raising, a few $100, getting a few hundred petitions, is actually useful because you can deploy it very specifically, very locally. And that's how you get people, to build up into greater modes of engagement, building greater networks with people and hopefully having more of an impact. But it really just has to start local.
So Jack, I'm going to let you address this in a second, but I would like to just sort of phrase this how it works to me. Like if you give $100 to a presidential campaign, it is nothing. If you give $100 to someone who is running for school board, that will have a huge effect on them. It really is like saying, I'm going to buy something from Balenciaga versus I'm going to buy something from Etsy. Because
Hell
when you
yeah.
buy something from Balenciaga, numbers go in a computer, they ship things to you. When you buy something from someone on Etsy, someone somewhere is going, woo! Like someone's calling their friend to talk about it. And I think that political donations, it works the same way a lot, where it's like you
Yeah.
can give to the big guy. And if enough people do it, it's going to have an effect. But if you can gather a relatively small group and give a relatively small amount to a relatively small candidate, like it really makes a much bigger impact. And there are a lot of issues that are decided locally that you might not even realize are decided local issues. And I just want to address two things in the comments, and then Jack, I swear I'll let you talk for just a minute. Shirt, what I'm seeing there is a lack of effort. Okay. Step it up. But also, please don't steal signs that
No,
are
wait,
that are
that's no, wait, no,
no,
that's
no,
super illegal.
no,
Please
no,
don't.
no. Don't steal signs that are up. That's not good.
Right.
No one's saying this except Peter, but he's clearly kind of square. Okay, so Jack, can you give us your insights on this? Oh, wait, Ken.
No, so there's actually a very specific reason why this is for
Thank
profit.
you.
That's a great question, Ken. So this is actually a Delaware B Corp. So we're incorporating this basically to have all the flexibility of a company, but with the same kind of capital restriction as a nonprofit. We are not looking to make this a publicly traded company in any sort of way. Um, there's going to be significant regulation on tax exempt organizations. I don't know if you guys know this, but Congress almost passed a law that would give the Treasury or the Treasury Department unilateral decision making to remove the tax exempt status of a nonprofit. It is if it's deemed in support of terrorism. Yeah, people should be talking about this more. Like 54 people in Congress kept that from passing. And I mean unilateral. I really mean unilateral decision making.
That's real weird.
Yeah, it's a way to suppress like the BDS movement. Um but like obviously if there's no, due process, you could really just do whatever you want with it. And it's a very vaguely written law. So there's also a lot of rules. There's nonprofit structures are very limiting You know, it's given that this is a type of technology that is designed to be commercialized widely. I think there's significantly more leeway in a within a traditional, more, you know, more traditional corporate structure than a nonprofit structure.
That's all I'm gonna say. Um,
That's
so
very
Jack,
nice of you.
I've kept you off for long enough.
Usually for the best.
Yes, I know you.
Oh, if you don't stop me, I will doom scroll this entire conversation. So please. I'm smiling, but I'm very, very sad.
You know what though? I have to say, like, I think it's really important no matter what. Oh, sorry. um, but really, local politics is incredibly important, and I think it's also important to just give you guys like you can be sad, that's fine, and then you work. You can be sad for a little while, and then you work. Like it truly I think of our country the same way I think of my daughter, where it's like when she's sick, I freak out. When I feel her forehead and she's burning up, I lose my mind. And then I get medicine and I call her doctor and it's like and but that's okay. Like you freak out and then you work. And so I like that you
Yeah,
guys you're working. This is the work. And it's not party specific. It really is about making sure that individuals' voices can be heard in a political system where that's extremely difficult.
absolutely. Yeah, and just harkening back on one thing that Jack said, I mean, like parties create false division. I mean, there is real division in the country. I'm not going to discount that, but
Yeah,
like
of course.
people tend towards synchrony. People tend towards community.
Yeah.
You know, you know, you can, there are a lot of people who voted for different people that if you just stick them in the room long enough and just kind of get the vibe of like, all right, let's find common ground here. Let's not, you know, be dickheads. You know,
Yeah.
people typically don't want to have conflict. And that's a huge reason why we're not party affiliated, is that we want people to actually talk amongst themselves and focus on like what are the things we agree on versus, you know, this kind of entirely made up, gamified, you know, gerrymandered electoral system that we have that's ultimately designed to create false division.
So once again, I've interrupted Jack. Jack, is there anything you want to say, or can I ask you a question?
I would like to first validate Peter a little bit.
Thank you.
Um, there is, first of all, in my day job, I've been an attorney for nonprofits for 7 years now, about 7 years. And something I do see very regularly is
Okay.
people coming together to try to fix a problem and the government actually stopping them. People trying to feed homeless people, to create housing for senior veterans. I can cite two specific examples of many times of people actually having the resources to solve a problem, and someone in local or higher up government said, no, we don't want you to do that.
Mhm.
And unless you live in Washington, D.C., you're not going to have any influence on the people in Washington, D.C. They don't see you. They don't know who you are. They don't care. The numbers that they're working with are so massive.
Mhm.
The population is massive. The budgets that they, wherever you live and whatever you want to happen, they don't care and probably won't hear about it. But your planning commissioner lives down the street.
Yes.
Uh,
Well said.
the
Well,
Supreme Court
very well said.
is openly corrupt, but in a lot of places in America, local judges who make thousands, tens of thousands a year, decisions a year that nobody overlooks, you vote for them. In the
Mhm.
off municipal election, so the difference is only a few thousand votes, but I won't necessarily advocate for you going into their courtrooms, but you're allowed to for a lot of hearings. You're allowed to just go in and observe and see if a local judge is someone you think is reasonable. And usually you can find that out pretty quickly from how they ask questions and how they make decisions. And in a lot of places, you have the ability to vote for them, but nobody knows. Nobody does. And there are
I would
so
also
many
like
things like this where you have power locally, but you just aren't aware of it because you don't know how the system works. So here you can share
there's a lot
information.
of local politics that's really fucking weird too. I just wanna
Mhm.
mention one example that I can't ever get out of my head. You vote for coroner. You vote for your coroner.
Yeah, you do.
In only 17 states is that person required to have any medical training. So, like, in some states, you only need a high school equivalency or a high school degree, and you can be a coroner. Like, you are not required to have any medical training. So, like,
Also,
the difference between a medical examiner and a coroner is huge, and you vote for your coroner. So, like, there's a lot of, like, weird local politics stuff that we should all really know more about, because it's almost like going to church on Christmas. It's like, yeah, we you should vote in the presidential election, but, like, also there's other stuff going on. So it really is important to get involved locally. And Jack, you're exactly right. The people who can affect change are often the ones who live down the street, who shop in the grocery store that you do. So thank you.
there's another thing I want to point out real quick is like Jack pointing all this stuff out is another reason for public assembly is to like more access people like Jack who have this knowledge who can easily just point out a couple of things that are flying under the radar that are like insanely important. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? I've got a fucking master's of public administration and like there's a lot of shit I've learned from Jack literally offhand and just being able to like put together those people with people who are interested in actually doing something in the community or feel like they really need to do something in their community is going to be really crucial moving forward.
I want to ask you guys in a second how people can get involved, but before that, I would like to know a piece of useless information that you carry with you. And I mean useless. I don't want to talk. I don't want
Hmm.
politics here. I don't want something helpful. Because it is often said that ferals, as I was and you remain, are just fonts of useless knowledge. So hit me up.
I philosophically disagree with you. There is no such thing as useless knowledge.
Fair
Anything that we
enough.
take in increases our textured understanding of the world
Peter, why
around us.
don't you go first? Because I have
Oh,
the ability to just
I
shut
was
him up.
I was going to disagree with him, but now that actually kind of does make sense.
Oh my God.
Okay, this isn't useless knowledge. Okay, here's I'll let you know what the knowledge is, and then I'll let you know how I learned it.
Give it.
Um, don't remove shingles off of a roof using a theater light. You guys
But
know who I'm talking to about.
I know exactly.
I'm not gonna name them, but we both know this person. Had a very funny way of speaking, in case you
I
need like a little help. Yeah, so I was paid a long time ago, right before going to college, to remove the tar paper shingles off of the theoretically like the head of a theater tech program's house, you know.
yeah.
Um, and we were melting the tar paper with theater lights,
Yes.
which like are insanely hot. And I, being kind of like a brawny guy, you know, pulled them off, was pulling them off as my friend was melting them. Also, the same friend you're both thinking of. And it snapped, and I fell off this man's roof.
Yes.
Now, the reason I am talking to you today and not in a wheelchair is that I was smart enough to kick off the wall as I was falling and managed to fall in a hedgerow and made it to this day. So
I
again,
know the
if
exact
there's
spot
one
you're talking.
thing I want people to walk away from is hire a goddamn roofer. Don't hire a kid right out of high school. You know, OSHA's your friend. OSHA is everyone's friend for a reason.
Okay. So my lights are being fun, but Jack, hit us with your knowledge.
The first case of post conviction relief, which is to say a finalized conviction with a sentence that was then reconsidered after a second trial and that sentence overturned, was Joan of Arc.
What?
Okay.
Wait, what?
Look, it's a long story, but it is a good and interesting story.
You know, you really caught me with the hook there. I was like really trying to follow what
I
any of that
know.
meant, and then I was like, Jack, that isn't useless. That's actually very useful. People live and die by that. And I was like, oh.
Um, you know what? I have one that I'm going to make you explain, Jack, and then we're going to get back to your very important organization. But rabies has a lethality rate of 100%, save for one case. Jack, can you tell us about the case?
Whoa.
So I should first caution you all that it worked one time and pretty much hasn't worked again. So this method is not recommended, but it saved one person.
Jack, was it
If you get
you?
rabies,
Is that where we're going here? Are you the one case?
oh no, I
I
would have
really thought that this
proudly
is where this is going.
I'll be right back.
once
I'm
I
gonna
get
try to
that
fix my
water
light.
phobia,
Carry
there's
on.
no catching me. I'll tell you that. So uh, speaking of overheating people, when you get rabies, if you don't get treatment very soon, you get it taken care of, your brain overheats, you start to have seizures. So yes, the sleep through it method, the Milwaukee protocol, they said will induce a coma in a teenage girl. So her brain's not going to be running at the time. So her body will have time to get the virus out, let it run its course without totally overwhelming her with fever. Um,
Wow.
Yeah,
I,
they
I,
essentially they made her brain dead. She died, and then they brought her back, and she did not have rabies anymore.
Oh, good.
of course, she spoke of dark tidings beyond the wall of night and begged us
Once
all to
again,
repent.
I can remove him. So Peter, can you tell? Okay. So how does somebody join your organization?
So right now, what would be really amazing for everyone on the stream to do is go to ourpublicassembly.com and sign up for our beta. So we are currently building our MVP. We're working with 3 amazing organizations in Philadelphia right now, prototyping our organizing model. We really just love people to sign up to, join our newsletter. If you want to potentially be a part of a pilot, use it or help us with our crowdfunding campaign that's going to be coming out in about 2 weeks' time.
I apologize. Is it .org or .com?
.com, ourpublicassembly.com.
I was correct. Sorry, I looked directly into a very bright light and now can't see anything. I'm just faking my way through this conversation. But this is the website if you guys are interested. Okay. Sorry, I can't see at all. And Jack, very briefly, why should someone know about your organization? So that happened and I don't know what to do. Well, shit. Yeah.
Because this is a tool to find your own solutions to problems that are affecting you. This is a way where even if you don't end up liking exactly what we're doing or how we're doing it, you will find ways to get connected to the people who you do like. The real soul of this is that I don't know you, I don't know your life, but I believe if I give people the tools to solve their own problems, they will use those tools and they will solve those problems because I see evidence of it all the time. There are structures keeping people from being able to do that effectively. And the solution is not to tear those structures down. You just build a new one. It's more effort to try to attack the United States of America from the state of the federal government trying to go to the Supreme Court. What you have, and we will try to help people get access to the information and knowledge necessary already to solve most of these problems for yourselves.
And I
Yeah,
would just like both of you to address this comment from Miguel. Miguel, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to ignore you. I think a lot of people feel this
yeah.
way. And so I would really like both of you in your own time to address this feeling that your voice is not heard. It does not matter. So why should I go vote?
I think right now, what people really need to
Gotta
focus
go.
on, and people like Jack and I who have this kind of knowledge, is we as a society have to start building alternative bases of power. And we have to start building communities of people who are organized, who are looking out for each other, who have the ability to, consolidate their voice and be able to speak and act as one. Because obviously we've proven that the party system is just so captured, and they're just not listening to people. The people who run these parties are just consultants that are worried about fundraising, and that isn't sustainable. And we, as a people who are not tied to that, need to find a way that we can organize and make those people listen to us.
Mm-hmm. And Jack, can you give us your take on that?
Yeah, in terms of voting specifically, the way the math and the system works out, you might not have the influence that you would like to over the presidential race. But on that ballot are people who are going to be future presidential candidates and who are right now in power in your local community. Maybe not senator or congressman even, but planning commissioner, local judge, coroner, mayor, city council
That's real
person.
weird.
These people exert a lot of funding and a lot of power, uh, and and part of the other thing that we're trying to do is get people to understand that they have a lot of other ways that they can apply pressure to these systems than voting. I think a lot of people think, well, I go into the booth once every 4 years and I pray. And yeah, it may, even if the president isn't worried about what the problem is, you are. The people you know are. And you do have power over these things. There is a lot of money and a lot of airspace spent trying to convince you that you don't have the ability to influence whatever it is that is directly impacting you in life. But you do. And we're going to try to help let people access that information and find out what they're able to do with one another instead of this game of blue and red.
The system that is
Yeah.
not working. Yeah, the system is not working.
Yeah, public
Um,
assembly, if I could just say one more thing,
yeah,
is
yeah, please.
public assembly really is just trying to answer the question, how does a group of people with $30 each defeat one millionaire in the game of electoral politics, influence, and legislation? You come together, you build consensus, you figure out a plan of what we're trying to do and how we're going to achieve it. You build an actual organization, meaning a tax ID somewhere is either being created or being used. And you pool money, you you hit the streets, you call your friends, you have a strategy, and you just act as one to make sure that you guys have a voice and that it's being heard. It's that simple. The tools in democracy is still possible. It just unfortunately has to come from the ground up.
I'm going to ask people who are here listening to you right now. Can you put any questions that you have into the comments section? And while you formulate those questions, Jack, there's a piece of knowledge from Barbara that I would like you to ruminate
Oh
on.
God.
See, again, how is that useless? I hope never to be in a situation where I
Oh
have to
man.
fit as much as 9 inches of anything up my rear. But if I'm in that situation, I'm a spy or something. I don't know. I'm carrying dissident literature in the post-apocalyptic future, and I go, all right. So I roll up this magazine. That is a good 7 inches. Am I going to try to get it down my throat? No, I've got quite a powerful gag reflex. Where can I hide it? Oh, Barbara from accounting. I remember the numbers that Barbara from accounting gave me. I'm going to get out of this straight.
I'm
Yeah,
poor
Ken,
phrasing.
I'm wondering the same thing. Thank you.
Poor phrasing, Jack. Uh, yeah. And I also, I'm sorry, I just want to address this too. Miguel, I don't think this is an apology situation. I think we've all felt that way. And I think that that's the entire point of this organization
Yeah.
is that you feel powerless because in a lot of senses you are. So this is about grabbing power where you can and using it to affect the most change that you can. So this type of thing is exactly for you, and even showing up here to listen to these people is such a huge first step forward. I
And
mean,
it's really worth remembering the government is not the only entity that can accomplish things.
yeah.
It's not the only way to make things happen. You can literally go out and do things.
Ooh, Audrey. Good knowledge for all of us. Thank you, baby. Um, didn't mean to click on that, Ken. I'm going to be honest.
Now, is he referencing the raccoons or politics?
So let's move on. um, but yeah, okay. So any other questions, please let me know in the comment section. Go ahead and put them up here. But one thing that I want to talk about is Jack, our mother, ran for school board when we were younger. She ran for school board. It became an insanely divisive race, and I did not realize the extent to which the school board really affects so much of local politics in my child's education. That's something that really opened my eyes and surprised me, and I only had that experience because my mother ran for political office. So what's something that both of you would like people to know about either local politics or whatever non-government entity? I don't know another word for it. I apologize, but what's something that you wish people knew? Because my thing is the coroner thing, because that's fucked up. Like that just ain't right. That has bothered me a very long time.
Harkening back to one thing Jack said about names being on the ballot, could be president. I'm looking forward to our first coroner president.
I hope to one day achieve that. Like I am
Oh yeah.
technically qualified to be a coroner in my that's not right. That should not
Mm.
be. Let me assure you.
Inflation is going to drop dead under my reign.
But just really like there's a lot of things you don't want me doing. Investigating murders? It's top on that list. It's real high up there. Like
I'm trying to turn this into like a fashion joke that you like sift through a lot of dead shit. You know what I mean? But I can't. I just don't have the lingo, and I feel there's a
okay,
joke in here somewhere.
no, I can tell you that Prada once for an artist produced a pair of shoes with actual shit in the heels. The artist pooped.
What?
The artist pooped. Um,
What?
put it in little baggies, mailed it to Prada, and they put it in the heel, in the clear heel of this shoe. And that cost somewhere around $5,000. He's never been specific about that. Um, every once in a while, I think about that. I think about the fact that like $5,000 could make such that could alter the course of someone's life. It could alter a
Yeah.
political campaign. That man spent it putting his shit in a pair of shoes. Like
That man's a literal shit heel.
this is what keeps me up at night. Like this is what keeps me up at night. And this
I've
is why I always say
Yeah.
I've never really said it, but like we have to take care of each other because they're not going to.
No.
And
Thank
this
you.
is a really wonderful example of you guys just trying to make sure that we can take care of each other. And again, I want to say it for anybody who
Thank you,
joined late.
Maggie.
I love that this is not about helping Republicans. This is not about helping Democrats. This is not about helping libertarians. This is about making sure that your voice will be heard, that what matters to you can happen in your community. And the power that
Absolutely.
your local officials have is huge. Because once again, I could be your fucking coroner. Like Aunt Dorothy could get strangled to death and I could sign off on it. You don't want that. So if you feel disenfranchised, I would say start looking into local politics. Start with your school board. Go to a school board meeting. They're fucking boring as shit, but they go over some like really interesting things. And they affect what your children learn, what your children see. It matters. It
You,
matters.
I think about my friends who their whole job is to be journalists. They're independent journalists. They like occasionally get, picked up by the Inquirer or, some like blog and stuff, but their whole job is to do that for you. And, the way that I envision public assembly is that like enough people can like are either being organized enough that they're going to these meetings or they're working with somebody who is not beholden to advertisers or an editorial room at a journal that's beholden to private equity or advertisers, and you can just go direct to the source. Maggie for coroner president, hell yeah.
Goddamn straight.
If that's not a t-shirt.
Jack, I'll speak to you after the show. Okay. So Jack, please give us your thoughts, your feelings. Where are you? Where's Jack today?
I'm inside right now. It's cold outside.
It's very cold. I don't like this.
It just got cold.
Oh God. Would you like to field this one, Jack?
Could I respectfully request you be a little more specific? There are many politics and policies in these United States of America, the colonies, as you would call them.
Oh my God.
But I will sort of, just as you're formulating that, I will comment on something somebody said, that grant funding, yes, grant funding is a big thing. A lot of what the government does, so sort of most of the way the government
Mhm.
functions, is by giving money out to things. That is money they get from taxpayers, small amounts from many people. Um, you don't have a say in what happens with that money. And you may think, well, I can't pay the amount that I pay in taxes to something else. You don't have to, because you're not trying to fund the entirety of the government and Medicaid and the Department of Defense and Department of Justice and whatever, the entire alphabet soup. You are trying to build one bridge, get one set of affordable housing built, something that is achievable, that will cost much less than any kind of national policy that you want to change.
So, Kimmy, I'm going to put this question up, and then we're going to respectfully not answer it as a group, because we can't. We haven't the time.
I can.
No,
Hmm.
you're
In
not.
a way that is not politically inflammatory, by the way.
Can you?
Yes, I can.
I would like to see you juggle that baby and that chainsaw.
Okay. So, 2 points. The first, most people don't really vote based off of policy because they don't know that much about policy. Again, who does, why would you, with all the many intricacies and processes that govern how the government and every aspect of everyday life works, right? One of the reasons the Republicans won is that they just have a better understanding of modern information networks. Trump went on Joe Rogan and Kamala didn't. The kids don't watch the CBS nightly news, but they do watch Joe Rogan. It's a lot of things like that where the Republicans just have better access to a way to control and sell a narrative to people, regardless of whether it's true or not. And at the same time, things are just kind of bad all over. Incumbent parties across the entire
Yeah.
world are losing hard right now.
Yeah.
And it's not only necessarily a commentary on those parties, it's happening all over because things are not good. There are lots of problems that we are dealing with and are working on. And it's, people are frustrated and they want a change. And so this is one element of that change.
Inflation is one of those things historically, and even going back to antiquity, that just is it tests civilization and not just society, just like the fundamentals of society, culture, politics, all of it. I mean, it's just one of those things that it can completely change the direction of a society or it can completely topple a government. Yeah, it really is fascinating.
All right. So I'm going to ask you to leave us with something happy. It can be topic
I'm
related or it can be a picture of a dog. I don't care.
One thing I'm really motivated by is I'm really motivated by the conversations that politicians are having with people who across the aisle. People like AOC who had people vote for Trump and her, and they are trying to have conversations, being like, and it's not judgmental. It's actually deeply compassionate and deeply exploratory. And I think that everybody remembers how divisive and just how inflammatory everything was in from 2016 to 2020. And I think that we as a society, regardless of what our politicians, I mean the people, don't want to return to that.
Yep.
And I think that there is a genuine
Absolutely.
moment right now where people are trying to reach out and trying to figure out, how can we coexist? And that gives me a lot of hope.
Jack. That's
I'm going to
very
show
well
you a
said.
picture of my dog meeting a corgi puppy as
Oh
I
my God.
as I mentioned something good and related to what Miguel wrote above. Um, Problem with money in politics, corruption in politics, is that politicians are in charge of the ethics rules by which politicians operate. So if you want to change that, you can't trust those lobbyists to advocate for that. They won't. It's working for them. But you can. You can be a lobbyist, hire a lobbyist. Um,
Mhm.
and I mean, really, literally right now, today, there is something going on in video games, which I'm not going to get us sidetracked about, but I wrote a state senator and said, I want to talk about this. And they said, okay, I've got a meeting with their legislative aide next week. That wouldn't have happened for the president, but it happened for that state senator's office. And not a lot of people, I mean, there are plenty of kooks who call in or send nonsense
Yep.
to them. But if you're someone who sounds like you are not crazy and have some idea of what you're talking about and care about it, either someone local will listen to you or you just have other options to achieve that thing.
I can tell you guys, I interned at a state congress or state senator's office for a summer. I hated every minute of it, but my job was to answer phones, and a shocking number of people don't call.
Hmm.
A shocking number. And when you do call, it's best to just go along with the script that an organization can provide you and say, "Hi, I'm calling about Bill 103. I'm opposed to it." Because my job was to go into the spreadsheet and just say, "One opposed." That's what I did. One opposed, one for, one. But if you want to sit down and have a conversation with that person, it's just not that hard. Like, not that many people come
Oh
in.
yeah.
And the people who do come in usually want to talk about like their alien abduction and the policies that you have that's going to change that. Like, it really, it's, and also, especially when you're talking to a local politician, you want to think Leslie Knope a lot more than you do Donald Trump, because these are people who are not making like a butt ton of money, and they usually get involved because something happened and they want to get involved. Like, they want to help. They want to help. So if you come in and say, "Hi, I'm really passionate about this," they probably care. And I just want to address one more thing from Audrey, um, because I don't feel that that's an exaggerated response.
No, sadly
Politicians
not.
control who you can marry, where you can live, the amount of money that you get to keep out of your paycheck, how much that paycheck is going to be. I mean, everything about your life to some extent. So, Audrey, I would say this is really important. Um, and for everybody listening to it, like, don't vote once every 4 years.
Yeah.
Vote a lot. Talk a
Hey,
lot.
Audrey, if
Research
you're
a
if
lot.
you're interested, so I completely agree. If you'd like to sign up at public assembly, I really would just love to talk to you.
Mhm.
Um, and that goes for everybody. I'm really trying to hear how people feel about the idea of working together and putting politics back in our hands versus the hands of politicians. I really would love to hear, does that seem feasible? How does that seem feasible? Why doesn't that seem feasible? If it's so easy, why hasn't it been done before? And my answer to some of those questions are, technology and people's relationship with technology has changed so much that if you give people the right tools and the knowledge on how to use them and help them create the right relationships, there is a tremendous amount of impact that those three things can have, especially when it comes to doing very targeted things with a lot of people in a very small area.
I would also just I hope it's okay to share, Audrey, but Audrey is at risk of becoming homeless. Um,
Oh.
and you guys know homelessness is something that issue is very close to my heart. And that's something that has to be affected locally. I mean, it
Hmm.
it has to be. And that's why I'm so incredibly proud of my mother for looking at this situation and being like, "I'm gonna do something."
Hell yeah.
And I it's Mr. Rogers' thing, but, that look for the helpers. Like, whenever something scary is happening, look for the helpers. And honestly, I see you guys as helpers. And I really appreciate you coming on the show and talking to us about this today. I really appreciate you guys starting an organization because you're tired of bullshit. Like, I want more people to start organizations because they're tired of bullshit. The world would be a better place. I want us doing zines again. So thank you for doing that. It is very weird to like know your people because like I
Hmm.
went to high school with you. So there's that. Um, and for those of you who stuck around until the end of this, I would like to invite each of you to tell an embarrassing story about me because they stuck around and I promised.
Hmm.
There was a time when we were
Okay.
young, long ago, before the mists and ashes swirled
I'm
in
gonna
deep
punch you in the
Ganinga
face
Gap.
through the I'm gonna punch you. I, I'm gonna
Sure.
bitch slap you.
So again, through our father, we got Maggie, younger than I later on in life, spent some time with archaeologists in Valley Forge, Pennsylvania, which is where George Washington had his army encamped for the winter during the Revolutionary War. They were doing some archaeological surveys there, and our dad said, "Can my kids hang out and learn how this works?" And they said, "Yeah, sure, whatever."
Yeah.
So I don't know how old Maggie was when you first started doing this, but in
12.
school later
I was
on,
12.
they said, we're going to do archaeology later. And you got excited. And then later on, they had a shoebox with sand and toys in it. And you said, this is bullshit, and threw it against the wall. And our parents were called in because this was misbehavior. And of course, our dad, who had like brought you on the archaeological digs, was like, look, yeah, I mean, that's fair.
There was once a time, and I'm not going to say which brother it was, where the cops came to the door, and my dad said, "You can come back for the kid when you have a warrant." Like, that's our dad. That's our
I've never met your dad, and I want to fucking hang out with your dad.
dad.
Straight up.
Let me just, so once again, I'm just gonna say it, and then Peter, I'll let you finish us out here. But our mother has a PhD in microbiology. She was educated in France. She speaks 2 languages. Dad is a punk from Philly who definitely sold weed. I suspect other drugs as well. So like the life lessons that we were taught as children, like mom would talk about like consolidating assets on your tax forms, and dad would be like, we're going to grind up vitamin B tablets in case you one day need to bunk a coke dealer, because that's just something, that's information that I think you should have.
God damn.
Probably an exaggeration, but
Man,
It's
that
not
explains.
at all. It happened when I was 12.
Okay, just for context, like everybody, all the ferals I've always met have always just been like the coolest people. And this actually really explains like the wonderful mishmash of like you guys are so fucking smart, but also like really like just cool and down to earth at the same time. That really just like I see it where it came from now.
We're useful, I think. My dad once said that if a feral can't put together a costume in under 5 minutes with what's on hand, they're not a feral, and that's always been true.
I believe that.
That has
when the
always
You are
bombs
some
drop, you
artsy
want us. We're
motherfuckers.
not complainers.
You're
We're
a family of theater
responsible,
kids.
pragmatic.
most of us know how to ferment alcohol.
You guys are definitely I think you guys are the coolest theater kids of all the theater kids that I know. And I know a lot of theater
That
kids.
is a high bar.
Oh man, speaking of which, so this story, I'm trying to tell the story without blowing someone up, but I just remember,
I'm very scared of what's happening right now.
so someone who you were very close friends with, um, told a really just like unfunny joke, and I was just like I didn't want to be mean, and I was like going along with it, and you were like you like called that person, you called like both of us out. You were like, no, that shit like wasn't funny. And Peach was trying to be nice. And I was like, and freshman me was like, I don't know how to do anything.
Sorry.
What do I do in this situation? Yeah, it wasn't that funny.
Well, I want to say that we all went to a very weird high school because like
No,
we were, come on. I'm
totally
not saying,
normal.
I'm not, our
My
theater,
graduating class was 43 people.
32, bitch. Okay,
We got
Hey,
them Quaker values.
yeah, in the light, bitches. Okay, so my theater tech teacher once locked me and another female student into a room with not but a screwdriver because he said women need to know how to get out of a locked room, and he was absolutely goddamn correct about that. We learned how to pop the hinges on a door and swing it on the lock. Like, and he did not come back for us. Like, let me make that clear.
so this is the guy whose roof I fell off of.
Yeah.
Just to be
Yeah.
clear, we love him. I see this.
Love him so much.
I can vouch for this story. He didn't mean it in a sort of mean way.
He once told me that he was a feminist because he couldn't figure out how women put on their bras.
Hmm.
Well, as someone who makes it a practice to take them off as often as possible, it's like a darn
Hey.
Rubik's cube, because you got to like apply pressure, but not too much pressure, and get it like it's a motion, and
I would like to
it takes
only speak
practice.
to you in this format because it gives me the ability to just get rid of him. I want this option always. That would
That would
that
be
would
really
be great
nice.
for me. Oh, and I guess I should, do you have a top hat on hand?
Not just that.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Put the top hat. Put the hat on the skull,
Put
please.
the hat on the skull. Oh, and also I should give you the
Hey, none of
opportunity.
that. Oh, that's anticlimactic. Okay, there we go.
This man's married, by the way.
Very
A
married.
lady looked at him and was like, "Yeah, forever. That'll be fine."
A
She
very
listened a little
like,
bit too.
you know, she's like a smart, well-to-do lady.
She
I don't know how you tricked her.
no, she's way smarter than him. And I'm
I'll
sorry,
tell
I'm
you
gonna
this. I'll
say
tell
it.
you how I tricked her. I sat I sat underneath a hawthorn tree at which a witch had been hanged in 1827 for 3 moonless nights, over which the clouds rolled in heavily. And I heard.
Once again, the ability to simply remove him is great. I would also like it mentioned that Jack
I'll give
ran
you your pot
everywhere.
of gold back if you grant me one favor.
Jack ran everywhere in high school,
He really
and we
did.
spoke in only Russian accents, talking about his wife Svetlana, always. And some of the teachers would walk behind us just to hear the conversation. They never made any fucking set like you're back, buddy. Oh yeah, no, Ken. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's my brother, that little dipshit down
Oh my
there.
God, was that obvious?
Did I not say that? Yeah, that's my brother.
Look how similar they are.
The face.
I am not related. Just just throwing that out there that we know of.
Okay, it wouldn't be out of character. Yeah, his ass got real
Audrey
lucky
fucking
that day.
rules. Audrey, we should definitely hang out.
Yeah, no. Also, our dad, much like that scene from Goodfellas, he stood my mom up on their first date, and she went to a couple different bars looking for him, and like
Wow.
he was not worth chasing down. like that luckiest fucking day of his life.
That I can't wait to find your dad's like monkey paw. You know what I mean?
Oh, I'm sorry, Jack. Can you explain the monkey on your head?
What?
Oh,
That's
oh,
okay.
in the picture.
The picture that I did a little promo for this, and the picture that I used for Jack was not the professional one he sent me. It was the picture of a monkey on his fucking head. So Jack, if you would please.
So the professional picture was from the day I got married. That was me getting ready. And the monkey was on the honeymoon. We went to Mexico. There is a sanctuary for mistreated animals. People have all sorts of weird, exotic animals that they're not legally allowed to have. They will acquire, they will surrender to this sanctuary. And they have monkeys who will climb atop you and chitter at one another.
That's awesome.
I'm chittering. I'm explaining. Jack, would you also tell them the story of when you stole from Mahatma Gandhi's house?
That
You know,
yeah, no.
here I thought you guys were like upstanding. I don't know who you people are. I thought of all three of us like I was the criminal. At least in high school, not nowadays, but in high school.
I'm
Our
trying to figure out
morals
what
are
we
not
can admit
averse to those of normal people, nor
No.
are they entirely aligned.
Well stated. Well stated. Any other questions? I think we'll close this
No,
out.
please, just really briefly, you stole from Gandhi. Please tell me the time you stole from Gandhi and his family and country.
So, one of the
Peter's
ashrams
so
where he
not on
stayed
your
for a while.
side. Peter is so not on your
I'm disappointed, man.
So this would have cost, I think, 5 cents basically. And I said, well, if you're going to do something bad, you might as well do something sacrilegious but extremely petty.
I would like to note that my brother was there to teach at a he was there for 6 months. He lost like half his body weight. But he was there for good reasons. And I'm just going to tell one more story and then I'll let everybody go. When Jack got back to America, I took him to a diner because he looked like he just got out of a goddamn concentration camp. Like he had lost so much weight.
Oh.
So I took him to the diner up the street from our house, and he ordered pancakes with a shitload of syrup and apple pie. And the waitress kept coming by because it was like 2 in the morning. Like, it was a weird time to be there. We were the only ones there. And the waitress kept coming by, and Jack was just audibly moaning. And so she would come over and be like, "Hey, are you guys doing okay?" And he would just be like, "Oh." He had not been able to, like, eat enough food to be full in 6 months. Like, the way that the way that you put it was that when you're eating in India, because he was in a pretty poor province. When you're eating in India, you're never full, you're just sometimes less hungry in the place that he was at. So, like,
I also have an alarming abnormal metabolism.
it is
And
true in that
let
regard.
me tell you, if you have not slept in 36 hours, if you have not eaten naught but spicy rice for 6 months, and you were sitting in a good old fashioned American diner eating a fresh, warm cinnamon apple pie, it's a good day.
He was literally just like, "Oh." It's like, you have to stop. Like, you're gonna get arrested for something.
Was this the Eagle Diner for chance?
Sadly, it was not, which is
Hmm.
closed now.
I know. I drove by there the other day and I
That's somewhere we need to go
almost
steal
cried.
something from, group. Next
Oh, that's a
live,
great idea. Yes.
let's go steal something from the Eagle Diner.
Let's not.
Okay.
Because that's
All right.
illegal.
And
Counselor.
that's wrong.
You are an officer of the court,
It's
sir.
wrong. Yeah.
I do not advocate for breaking the laws. I advocate for either fixing them or circumventing them entirely.
Mm, I'll take that. That's not wrong.
All right. Well, I will see you guys next time when we will do a tour of the Eagle Diner and definitely not take anything. Once again, thank you guys for coming on. Your organization, please name.
Ourpublicassembly.com.
Woo!
None up.
Okay, I hate myself. Yeah, ourpublicassembly.com. They are just getting started, guys. Please get involved now. Get involved early. It's incredibly important no matter what your political affiliation is. Although, if you are an Alex Jones supporter, maybe you sit this one out.
Honestly, I'd still love to hear from you. I
My
just
goodness.
want to see how your mind works.
Dude, I Googled you to find a picture of you to, like, make the little promo thing. And I was like, oh shit, he's a grown up. Like, it's very strange and I don't like it. Like, I had a brief, okay, last thing, I swear to God, last thing. My brother George, my oldest brother, when his first friend was getting married, like the first friend in his friend group was getting married, he was really, like, upset about it. And the night before the wedding, he came and he talked to me and I was like, what's going on? Because, like, you're weird. And he's like, it's just weird to see your friends grow up. And I was like, yeah, I guess I get that. And he was like, no, you don't, because, like, you're younger than me. Your friends aren't having children and getting married. So he told this story about his friend where they were walking home from a bar in South Philly at like 3 in the morning when the bars closed and having a farting competition in the street, because that's what
Hell yeah.
idiots do. And so it was his turn. And so, to not be outdone, this guy pulled his pants down and took a shit in the middle of the street in Philadelphia.
Hell yeah.
That winning or losing the farting competition.
I would call that, I think it ends it.
I think that's technically that could be construed as either. I agree.
No,
with
I
Jeff.
would say technical knockout. I would say victory by technical knockout.
But we can't reward that, you know.
You have to respect it.
Okay, it's true.
It's
true.
a move.
True.
I
It
mean, we can
definitely is.
debate this, but and if you guys choose to share this live, you can cut the end of. I don't care. I'm just saying, like,
I'm
can
gonna
have
cut
this debate.
only this section actually.
I don't know why more people don't agree to be interviewed by me. But like that. So this is my shitting in the street moment where it's like, Peter, you've founded an organization to help political literacy in our nation.
I
Like,
could
it's just like,
listen. I could read this entire time. Isn't that crazy? I actually could read.
all right. Thank you guys for doing this.
Yeah, Maggie, this has been a pleasure, and thank you everybody for listening.
See,
this is really fantastic.
That's a kind of escalation that you have to at least acknowledge.
Audrey, you're trouble. Honestly. Honestly, you really are. We absolutely need to hang out.
Also, these people are not difficult to contact.
Oh
Their
yeah.
email addresses are right on the website. Yeah,
Yep.
go stalk them.
Yep.
Okay,
We have
alright.
we're very easy to reach out to.
And let's end on some good advice.
Paint the town red.